I was indeed asked to talk about the representation of women in film, and the question was whether such movements as Me Too have changed the representation of women in film, and if Wonder Woman has changed something for the better, or if sexualized images of females still predominantly dominate Hollywood cinema. Now, for most Hollywood superhero films, female superhero films, it is true that women in film are still present to be looked at. And the audience is forced to watch these films from a position of sexual inequality, as not even the male characters objectify her, but also the camera objectifies these female characters. Besides the action, their storylines and identity struggles often revolve around wanting to submit into a relationship or staying sexually free and independent. Now, most of the times, they don't even fight for a cause, but they fight because they were forced by man-made circumstances, which stresses both their rebellious independence, but also their dependency on men. Half of their sex appeal is caused because they are feisty women who need to be tamed. Therefore, in order to understand these women and their complexities, I would like to start with Hitchcock's Marnie from 1964, who is modeled after the 1930s femme fatale, who are very complex, also express depth, and do what they want. Like the femme fatale, Marnie is a victim of abuse who uses her ability to transform through clothing. The film is notorious for conveying Marnie's emotional state of being as unstable and unreliable through 32 different outfit changes. Now, Hitchcock might have created more complex representations of women, but his women are also extremely objectified, as the camera consistently focuses on the necks, the legs, and other body parts, ignoring the woman as a whole and fetishizing these females as objects to be looked at. Rape here is used as punishment for their sexuality. Unfortunately, even in contemporary cinema, rape is still a dominant trope. Sexual violence is so persistent that many stunt women don't even get to do real stunts. In this film, eventually the male character, who is famous for handling wild jungle cats, rapes Marnie so that she is tamed and becomes a stable woman. In fact, most of Hitchcock's women are very strong females, but undergo some form of transformation through sexual violence and then appearance. Thus, when Tippi Hedren, who played Marnie, expressed her Me Too moments, people were outraged that she dragged Hitchcock's name through the mud. And crew members quickly came to defend Hitchcock, who couldn't do it himself, since he had already passed away. But why can't we accept that he might have been the best filmmaker, but could also harass his female staff? Clearly, Hollywood has and had a very troublesome relationship with women, and we, the audience, like to think in complete oppositions. Instead of questioning the dynamics in the media industry, the debate quickly became a he says, she says discussion. And media coverage tells us that there is no middle ground and that we have to have hard-cut opinions. This complex relationship of feminism and film is summed up in another scene of a catty woman from Batman Returns in 1992, where Michelle Pfeiffer has a moment that breaks out of the narrative of the film and reflects on how women's stories are being told. In Gotham, like any other female scenario, or male scenario, women exist as smurvettes. They are basically there because they are women. as the exception in a universe of males who are allowed to be more complex. Here, although she is highly sexualized in BDSM wear, we do see a glimpse of a feminist female icon, but she is born out of hate and disgust for men. After completely deconstructing her pink world, as if she realizes that she could make her own decisions and not listen to the people who tell her how to behave, she reinvents herself by stitching up a catsuit, ready to take her revenge. It is no surprise that precisely this Catwoman has become a meme. She is looking at us. She is looking at the audience. Complex as she is, here she breaks out of the narrative. We do no longer judge her for the actions in the film, but we value her as part of our whole media culture, as a character that took ownership over her own life. Ellen Ripley is another feminist icon who is quite famous lately. She's from the Alien franchise, and again, we see the comparison with a cat, which probably has something to do with the idea that cats are creatures that are extremely difficult to understand, just like women. But Ripley's character is not sexualized, and she is also completely stripped of constricting and non-functional clothing. She is educated, she is in control, and she does not get told what to do. Therefore, according to James Cameron, who directed this second Alien film, today's Wonder Woman is an objectified icon, and this is a step back in time after seeing characters like Ellen Ripley. In his perspective, all the commotion about Wonder Woman was self-congratulatory back-patting of Hollywood, as she does remain a sex symbol. Wonder Woman director Patty Jenkins, of course, responded that female characters are multidimensional, and we should be able to celebrate a woman who is also attractive and loving. If not, we haven't come that far. That having said, it is true that Wonder Woman is objectifying women, and it also puts a lot of emphasis on romance. Indeed, Cameron's view on feminist icons do feel more truthful, but not sexualizing female characters has become equal to disguising every feminine trait in order to become more masculine. In the interpretation of 1990s and 2000 films, such as Kill Bill and G.I. Jane, for instance, we see that the female character completely has to appropriate male culture or has to become very masculine. Here we even see G.I. Jane referring to her dick. What all of these debates tell us is that we are supposed to have a black and white vision of the world, that the personal is not political, that they either have to man up or be sexually free, or you have to work so hard that you're not able to express your gender at all. But then they struggle with life and family and husbands, etc. But post-feminism, as we have seen in series such as Sex and the City and Girls, have already taught us that there are different kinds of feminisms. And we can negotiate personal choices with the political. Women can shave their armpits and also objectify beauty standards. They can like fashion and also be political. Unfortunately, however, most contemporary feminist shows express a shallow form of feminism which focuses too much on appearance and still revolves around men. Another problem would be that this is a predominantly white perspective on feminism, as it completely obscures anyone who is not white from this debate. Characters like Black Widow, for instance, do not only operate on sexist but also racist tropes. Luckily, film festivals often do much better. But we need to see contemporary Hollywood do better as well. And when we talk about feminism, we need to include all of those stories that matter. And we need to make more films or see more films with complex characters who could inspire and entertain at the same time. We need to see more characters such as George Falconer in A Single Man, who loves someone from the same sex, but is not exoticized as a stereotypical homosexual. The same goes for Katherine Johnson in Hidden Figures, who is black, female, pretty, a mother, and a mathematician working for NASA. We do not want to see or need to see more and/or characters. And although nostalgic and fictionalized, these stories are much more complex and shine a light on contemporary issues in society. Black Panther was a nice start, but we do need better storylines. And besides that, we need to spark the debate about the power dynamics in Hollywood. Not only to play he says, she says, but to make more transparent who is excluded. Bell Hooks famously said that we need to speak up, that we need to end our silence and form a strong voice. With the Me Too movement, I believe that voice has been heard. What we now need to do is include more people from marginalized groups, include more women and people of color by not only giving them a voice, but also giving them a seat at the table in the industry. Thank you.